June report. The baseline month-over-month weighted inflation establishes a clear framework for evaluating restaurant procurement. For the period under review, the aggregate variation metric provides a solid health check on overall purchasing dynamics. It sets the stage for a strategic assessment of macro movements, reflecting a standard monthly routine of comparing current data against the previous month.
Overall weighted inflation for the period sits precisely at plus 0.7%. This metric signals to management that macro procurement variations remain entirely within normal, controllable parameters. Such a marginal increment demonstrates systemic stability. It indicates quite clearly that overarching food costs are behaving exactly as anticipated, keeping core operational budgets firmly protected.
However, beneath this calm macro baseline, diverging margin dynamics become visible. While the top-line figure projects broad stability, structural friction exists deeper within the procurement layers. These diverging inflationary forces across the main family categories reveal the underlying mechanical tension within the restaurant's supply chain, demanding a closer analytical look.
A pronounced contrast emerges when evaluating processed foods against fresh produce. Processed categories exhibit noticeable upward margin tension, registering an inflation rate of plus 11.8%. Conversely, fresh vegetables and fruit project a strong downward adjustment at minus 5.4%, effectively acting as a deflationary shield. This deflation in fresh vegetables and fruit neutralizes the heavy inflationary pull originating from the processed categories. By offsetting the pressure generated by those processed items, the fresh produce segment performs a very specific economic function. It allows the aggregate procurement spend to remain firmly anchored, successfully shielding operational margins and keeping the overarching structure balanced.
Strategic focus must now pivot from category pricing variance towards the systemic purchasing architecture itself. True operational resilience requires a comprehensive assessment of supply chain dependence and vendor distribution. This perspective allows management to accurately map the sourcing network and identify where systemic leverage truly resides.
Detailing the supplier concentration metric reveals a highly specific business reading. Exactly 59.4% of total procurement volume is concentrated within just the top 5 suppliers. This structural allocation illustrates a weighted dependency on a rather condensed group of partners to sustain regular restaurant operations. This level of concentration acts as a structural bottleneck, naturally restricting agility and limiting the capacity for further margin optimization. When procurement weight is heavily anchored to a few primary sources, the operation's ability to seamlessly pivot purchasing strategies is naturally constrained. It creates a latent rigidity within an otherwise stable framework. To address these structural realities and improve overarching health, specific pathways are indicated for management. It is necessary to systematically review the costs of processed items to reduce overall expenditure. Concurrently, active engagement to seek alternative suppliers is required to decrease concentration dependence, thereby distributing structural risk much more evenly.
Does the current purchasing structure possess sufficient resilience to absorb future market variations without compromising profit margins? This central strategic reflection is left with management. Enhancing the purchasing architecture today positions the operation to navigate future cycles with steady, structural confidence.